To the agenda, very simple. Very simple. So we're only here for 2 hours. 2 days. 2 days. We're only here for 2 hours, and I will start with some welcomes and introductions. I think I pretty much welcomed all of you, but we'll go to introduction in a bit. We'll talk about the goals, your commitments, and then the big thing is how to be a great mentor. Because I think if you're all showing up here, that's what you're interested in, and then we get to meet the mentees. So it's pretty straightforward. If you don't know Elias Chamorro, I think you've been living under a rock somewhere. Elias is from the it's the Kiwanis Club of East San Jose. I would say the East Side Club, I got correct. So the Kiwanis Club of East San Jose, and a longtime educator and also a member of our subcommittee that worked on this mentor training and the class, and sort of overhauling all of the Kiwanis turnaround scholarship programs pretty much since last July. We've been working on this. So let me introduce myself because I see some faces that I don't know. My name is Kim Guptill, and I work for the Leo and Shortino Family Foundation. And Leo Shortino was an Italian immigrant to the Santa Clara Valley in the 20s, and he was an educator, he was a teacher and a musician. And when he retired, he started to invest his money in real estate, and he made, hang on to your seats, $100 million in real estate in the Santa Clara Valley. Talk about right place, right time. And so he put about half of that into a family foundation about 20 years ago. And so and for 15 of those 20 years, he and some of his friends were on the board, and they made grants. Well, now he's been gone about 6 years, and then it took several years to settle his estate. And now that it's settled, they decided, the board decided that they needed an executive director of their organization. That's Elaine Curran, who's being our door person. And then I am the second employee of the Shortino Foundation. And so how this all came about, I know a lot of you have been involved in TAS for a long time, and as Elias knows, Mr. Shortino became acquainted with TAS many, many years ago and was very taken with it, just like everyone is, and said, I'm going to commit to making sure to support your organization, for as long as I possibly can. And so that's what we're doing. And the way that we got so involved now is that Marty Bacalio, in fact, who it happens to be, he's from the Downtown Club, he happened to be the chair of the board of the Shortino Foundation until this year. He's just stepped down and is the vice president of real estate. And he said, how do we know we're making a difference? And you guys have heard some of this before in different presentations with some of the new faces. How do we know we're making a difference, right? So, and the way you know, everyone knows the answer to this question, is you got to have some kind of measurement of it, right? So the measurement in the case of this is, how many of these kids actually collect their money, how many of these kids actually enroll in school, how many of these kids actually succeed in school, how many of them, succeed in the first year, how many of them come back for funding in the second year. And we all know, each club kind of knows that, but there was never any central way of collecting that information and being able to say, with any certainty, exactly how we were doing. So we said, okay, let's look at this. And we got together with a subcommittee of marvelous people from all different clubs, and we met monthly and sometimes more than once a month since last July, and looked at everything, And then you saw suddenly everything got thrust on you in January, and you said, we have to rush and do this. And that's, again, one of those things that is, I'll take entire responsibility for. That we had to rush everything for you, and we appreciate that you came along with us on that. And next year it'll just be smoother. And so what we came up with is basically, I wrote to all of you guys and got all these this input from everybody. These are the forms that we use. This is the process that we use. And then we just kind of worked line by line and cranked out forms that were common to everyone, and we have them. They all have the same look and feel, and they're all the same. And no one's ever going to check them if you decide to change them, frankly. So we asked everybody now to have a nomination from somebody at the school. We asked every kid to fill out an application, and the application includes an essay, a short essay, and then we also asked them to take this class. And the idea of that is, I did a gob of research about this, and it's increase the chances of success of a kid just, you know, by orders of magnitude if they have some introduction to school beforehand and if they have a mentor. And I know you guys have had a mentor program for years, and some of that has gone really well, and some of it has been very informal, and so we're trying to formalize that a little bit more in hopes that this will be more effective for these kids, right? So the Shortino Foundation, after we get all this launched, is just going to bow out of this, and we are going to, you know, help you guys take it over yourselves, and you'll make it your own in whatever way that you want. But the idea is to just kind of introduce you to you know, the possibility that we could do a better job with these kids and have them have even better outcomes if we're able to do this. And we talked about, well, you know, these kids are, some of them are starting from really, really low academic standing and have unbelievable, evolve into the turnaround luncheons and breakfasts and things, and have unbelievable circumstances that they've overcome. And some of them are, you know, may never graduate from college, and some of them may never even graduate from community college. But so why we chose community college is because the great majority of the kids that we're dealing with are going to either go to community college to start or a trade school. And so we thought that this was kind of the common denominator that we could go with, is to get them to come to a local community college. And the beauty of it is if they're in high school, it's still free. It's concurrent enrollment, it's free. They get a half a credit, and they also get a little bump in their status if they go to Mission College. And they don't have to go to Mission College after this, but if they get a little bump in their status so that they are not brand new students, they're returning students after they've taken this little half-credit course. So they can, you know, get a little bit ahead of somebody in signing up for courses in the fall. So, let's see. I think that's all I wanted to say about that. Now, if you have any questions, raise your hand anytime. And I just want everybody to introduce themselves now, because then I'd like to know who I'm dealing with.
Before you, I do have a question. On the half credit, will that be, how will, have the students been told that? And if they're planning on going to West Valley or De Anza?
Unfortunately, the credit is not transferable, but the assessments are transferable. Only if they want to go to Mission will they retain that credit and be considered returning students to Mission.
How do they get the assessment transferred?
Just a second, one at a time. Say again?
How do they get the assessment transferred?
They just need to print it out and bring it to the other school. But it's transferable. Rick?
Isn't the credit transferable also to West?
I think it would be transferable to West Valley because they're in the same district, but the other ones are other college districts. Oh, the community college districts. I know that's not.
I think it's De Anza.
No, Mission.
De Anza, West Valley.
No, Foothill, De Anza, Foothill, De Anza, Mission, West Valley, and San Jose State, and San Jose City, and Evergreen. Those are the three in the immediate area.
You know, Kim, I mean, that's something that it's probably could work on it later on. We just started this, and that's the rule, and we'll accept that. Right. But I think it's articulation with the other colleges. I mean,
it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
But we'll work on it.
Okay.
I have a question. So what is this class teaching them? So
this class is orientation to college, and it has, it's within the counseling discipline here at the college. And the idea is to, first of all, like I said, their first test was to find the place. And then more mentors? Yahoo! Come on down. Enter and sign in, please. Have a seat. So they are learning about a variety of things, but for instance, study skills. So they're going to have a whole, module on study skills. So what is it like to take notes in a college environment? And they're going to learn about the support organizations that are on campus. So there are all kinds of support organizations for first-generation kids. So these kids are what we call first-generation college students. So they almost none of them has a parent that has been to college, and so they will. There are organizations that exist exactly for that. So if you've been to college, there's a few things to learn, right? If you haven't been to college, it's a little bit scary. So that was the whole idea, is to get them on campus to see, hey, I can see myself on this campus, and then I'm going to learn about some study skills, I'm going to learn about support organizations, I'm going to learn about how do credits work, how do majors work, how does transferring work if you're in a community college, because obviously the ideal would be to, after you're done with your 2 years, you get your AA degree, or you just transfer. You don't even need an AA degree to transfer, because you know that they get priority with all of the CSUs and all of the UCs to get into those schools before any transfer from anywhere else. Okay, so they're learning all about those kinds of things, everything that you need to know to be successful in community college and to transfer on. Okay, and we do have some cases. There are some kids here today that are going to four-year colleges, and they're coming anyway. And eventually we might have a program. You guys might decide to have a program for them too. But we're just talking to a young lady out there who got NYU and Berkeley and several other UCs, and she's got an offer of like $30,000 from NYU, and she's trying to decide. Of course, the tuition and fees are $60,000, but so we have those occasional kids that do that. But the greatest number of our kids are going to be the kids that are thinking about going to community college. Okay? So, introductions. We have some new folks. Kind sir, Alan Sprague. I saw your hand.
Me.
You moved. You're Alan Sprague.
Travis. Hi.
Hi.
From West Metro.
West Metro. Welcome. Welcome, welcome.
I'm Judy Oppenheimer.
I'm Judy Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. What club are you from?
Huh?
What club?
I get East Valley.
Yeah.
East San Jose.
East San Jose. Yes. Alan Sprague.
Alan Sprague, Fremont Club. Mentee is George McLeod. I'm also here on behalf of my wife, Judy, and she is also a mentor for Valeria.
Gonzalez.
So she's here today.
Because
Oh,
she's
good.
not here, she won't
I
get
met
paid.
Valeria Gonzalez.
Oh, great.
I agree.
She was the one I was worried about. I brought the other two. And I'm Marcia Badella from the Fremont Club.
Yes, marvelous. Marvelous supporter. Thank you all.
I'm Dina Coffer from the Campbell Club.
Hi, Dina. Thank
Hi.
you for coming.
Good morning, J.R. McKee, Campbell.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Doug Perry from Cambrian Park.
Yes. How are you, Doug?
Good.
Good.
Teresa Powell from West San Jose.
Okay. Okay.
Lynn Stevenson, West San Jose.
Great.
Lisa Lenarici, West San Jose.
Rick Mock, West San Jose.
Oh, you guys are tough.
Howard, West San Jose.
Oh, woo, you better move, Doug.
I gotta get
They're the ones that make all the money.
Making us all look bad. I love
It's going to
it.
be a rumble pretty soon. Okay.
I'm Mercy Kanga from Elmwood Valley.
Dick Gardner, also from Mountain View.
Good, good, good.
Rafael Renteria from East San Jose.
Great. Thank you for coming.
I'm Grant Denver from West San Jose.
Donna Sharamonte, West San Jose.
Great.
Wow.
West San
Gary
Jose.
Johnson, West Metro, San Jose.
You guys are making us look bad. It's not fair.
And John Egan, West Metro.
Don Busich with Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley Executives.
Ted Atlas, West Metro.
Okay. Great, great. So welcome, welcome. I'm very glad you're here. This is something I've been working on for a long time, and I'm very passionate about it, and I'm very excited because I think it's really going to make a difference for these guys. So let me just click on to our next guy. Introductions.
Can we turn the first bank of lights off, maybe? So the screen is more visible?
Yes, thank you.
Where are they? Where are they?
In front of you.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Much better?
Perfect.
Okay. Simple goals for today. For our mentors to make you more comfortable and effective as mentors, and for our mentees to help them be successful, right? So these are pretty obvious, but I put this in here because I know that for a lot of people, mentor in their mind translates into tutor. So they think, oh my God, they expect me to help them with their math, which I haven't looked at in 35 years. Not going to happen. So it's not like that, okay? Unless you decide that you want to be welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
What's your name?
Amy Yee
Amy.
from West San Jose Kiwanis.
Right? Guys, ridiculous.
You guys are wrong.
We're going to play Red Rover later,
okay,
and
we
West
got
San
the power of
Jose is
video.
only one. Okay, so we want you to be comfortable with being a mentor, right? And I'll just tell you right now, no one's going to be checking on you. right? So I want to be clear about that because I know I've heard the Shortino Foundation being referred to in various ways, like, you know, there's a new sheriff in town and stuff like that. And, you know, we're not going to, it's not our job. It's really not even our job to set all this up. You know, it's just we decided that we wanted to spend some money and some time on seeing if we could do something that would make it an even better program. We want it, it's your program. Hello?
Kim, I want to show you the instructions you gave
Okay,
me.
Craig, what did I do?
Kim!
Craig, what, honey?
Well, it says you're going to be an ES.
That's a student.
That was at 8 o'clock.
That was 8 o'clock.
That was at 8 o'clock, honey. It's 10
But
o'clock.
those are the wrong instructions we discovered.
Okay, well, thanks for pointing that out. You always count on Craig for that. Welcome. You are? Peggy Dorr. Hi, Peggy. And then wasn't there a third person? Ah, Ruben. How are you?
Good morning.
Again, as I said, no one's going to be checking up on you. So all of the things that we're going to present today are suggestions. They're just the compilation of all of the research and talking with everybody under the sun that I have done over the last year and listening to the Kiwanis to try to boil it down to something that will work for you guys and that will help the kids. So, you know, you're all Kiwanians, we're all here for the kids, and we're all feeling our way. So if you don't like something on here, don't do it. You know, and like I said, absolutely nobody's going to be checking on you. So it's just these are just all suggestions, okay? And then really, I'm sorry, I should have looked up at one of my statistics about how much what a difference it makes to have a mentor to a kid when they're in school. But there is quite a bit of research about it, and it's tremendous the difference that you can make, if you can imagine. I'm sure. Okie dokie. So, here are the 5 easy steps, okay? What else do you do in your life that only has 5 easy steps, okay? Not too much, I'm sure. So, these, and I say commitments. So, we're asking you to commit to this. I'm not going to check on you, okay?
Do you have copies of these slides?
I do it. But a first rule of being an instructor is you don't give the handouts until afterwards because then they spend the whole time reading the handouts. Okay, so I'm going to give them to you afterwards. Okay. The idea is to meet monthly with your mentee. Okay, that's the recommendation. If you talk to a kid once a month, and I mean talk to them on email, or talk to them on the phone, or meet them in person, or text them if you're can do the texting, or check up with them on Facebook if you're doing Facebook, and hello, Pat. Hi. And if you are on none of those things, I don't know what to tell you. You at least could meet with them in person, right? Okay. So if you met with them once a month, it's amazing what it and 1 hour a month or something like that. You know what I mean? That's just the suggestion. You will make an enormous difference with them. And so we're saying 3 times before school starts because you're going to meet them today. Some of you have already met your mentees at your Kiwanis luncheon or breakfast or whatever your event is. I know the East Side folks have. I certainly saw all of them there. And then some kind of summer outing. And it doesn't even have to be an outing. Again, it can be a phone call. And we'll talk more about how you get connected with the kids in a bit. And then, again, the check-in with them once a month. And then we recommend 3 times in person per year. Because you just think that's going to make a difference. If they see you and make a connection with you, it's going to be better than if you just do it via phone or via email. And some people are so bloody busy, there's no choice but to do it by those, and that's fine. Track the mentee communications. Again, nobody's going to come and check your form, but it's really a handy idea. I'm going to give you an example of one in a bit to do that because you forget, and so it's very simple. It's like the date, how you got in touch with them, was it email, was it phone, was it in person, and then what did you talk about? 2 sentences about what you talked about so that you could remember, right? Because I do this for everything that I do. I write myself notes, note to self. I send it to my email so that I can keep track of it, or you keep it in a little pad, or whatever you do in your daytime or whatever you have that helps you organize your life, just a little note about what you talked about, because you have so much, everybody, and you know this, everybody has so much in their lives that they can't possibly be expected to remember everything. And if you only talk to somebody once a month, then you really do need to keep track of it. And it's just a helpful little thing. And then these are the two things that are the most work that you could ever do. And again, nobody's going to check on you. So it's the ensuring that the mentees turn in their proof of registration for each semester or quarter, and that they turn in their transcripts at the end of the year. So the idea is, in order to know, every club has it that you have to do some sort of proof of enrollment before you get your money. Okay? Some of the clubs give the money to the kids, some of the clubs give the money to the schools. We talked about this for a very long time. It's fine, whatever you want to do, but every single one of them has some kind of proof of enrollment. If ever you've been involved in this, you know this. So whether it's your schedule that says, okay, I'm going to Evergreen College, and I'm going to be in this class, and this class. And then, so that's proof that you're enrolled, and so you want them to turn that in so that they get their money, right? And some kids, need their money sooner rather than later, and some kids are very good about this, some kids aren't, but that would be a very helpful thing for you to work with a kid on. I think most people are, maybe I'm crazy, but I think most people are procrastinators, and I think this stuff is very foreign to kids. And so it would be very helpful if you could give them a little nudge on that. And then the transcripts at the end of the year, we want to know, did they pass? If you get a proof of enrollment for a second semester or a third quarter, you know that they were successful or they wouldn't be allowed to be enrolled. So you only have to ask for the transcripts at the end of the year, okay? And that's to see how do they do, And as Elias was saying, it's also just an opportunity to talk about, what do you think you learned in this? And so we're going to talk about that in more detail. 5 easy steps. What do you think? Look at this. We can all do these, right?
Yeah.
Yes, nodding. Big nodding. Yes. And it'll be fun. And you will be amazed at what a difference you're going to make in these guys' lives. I have had several mentees now, and it's stunning how they just have no idea because they haven't been exposed to something like college. And so you will, even if you didn't go to college, it doesn't matter. You still know more than they do. Okay? Even if you're only 20 minutes ahead of them, you still know more than they do. Okay? Did you want to add anything, Elias? At this point?
Again, it probably will cover later on, but when you get your mentee, the different personality, I have 2 this year, and they're totally opposites. And again, to keep you motivated, and I have some suggestions for the club. I think once a month, the members that are mentors, it won't take very long. Put it on the agenda. Let's hear about how you're doing with your mentees. For example, always a reminder once a month, or bring one of your mentees to your meeting. That's another idea to keep people, say that, well, I forgot to meet with my mentor this month. So, but at least part of the club and people motivated, and also exciting. I have to opposite mine are an issue because I have to provide transportation for them. But I have had breakfast with them. I have gone to the college with them and for a couple of times. But I'm still not doing something every month, and I feel guilty about that. We get so caught up, and I just totally forget I want to do it. Sometimes I'm calling them in the evening, because I could have probably things to do that day, but it gets to put something in your calendar. Sometimes this is the day I want to do something, we might either call them, send them a text message, or something like that. So you say reminder, because we're all so busy, we all get so caught up in our daily routines that sometimes we forget that we have that responsibility for the main team.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the meat of our program today on how to be a great mentor. Okay, so I know you're all going to be great mentors, or you wouldn't be here. But there are some things to know about mentoring. It seems pretty straightforward, but there are a few little issues that you might not have thought about. And the first is being sensitive to your mentees' life experiences. Okay, you guys know this population. You've been Kauaians, and you've been associated with the TAS program. Even if you're new, you've heard about it. You know these are kids. The whole idea in the name, turnaround scholarship. These are kids that have overcome some unbelievable obstacles, and so they're probably pretty different from you. You know, or you know, you probably wouldn't be here. So and forming a relationship with them is going to be your biggest challenge. Okay, and some people you'll take to each person will take to each other very, very well and very easily, but some people will not, and that is, you know, human nature. It's like anything. So we're here to try to give you some ideas for how to deal with all of those things. So the kinds of things that kids have dealt with is everything from being a foster child to being homeless. We have had kids that are homeless. We have kids that have been in gangs. We have kids that have been incarcerated. We have all kinds of kids, and I can tell you, I would. I didn't deal with any of that as I was growing up, and probably you didn't either. And maybe those of you that have are going to be even better than anybody else. But other than the life experiences that we're talking about that these kids have dealt with, we have to think about, and these are suggestions for you, to think about the kids' developmental level. I'm sure if you have kids, even the difference between your two kids is probably amazing. So one of them is much more mature than the other one, so you have to think about that. They might not be ready for dealing with another adult. So just keep that in mind when you're dealing with them. They might have different needs. You know how some kids are more needy than other kids. Some kids need more attention. Some kids are very independent. So that's something to keep in mind. And then their personal interests. Ideally it would be great if we could match up mentors with kids that have the same interest. If they, if you had the same major in college, or if you knew you were like to play basketball and you could match up that way. But we have more mentees than probably mentors at this point. I know some of you have more than one. Which actually, I'm going to do a little aside here. We've talked about that long and hard too. And one of the things about having more than one mentee, while it seems on the face of it to be more work, it could actually turn out to be even less work, I think, because for one thing, you can do a lot of the things together with the kids, and they can turn out to be, I think, if they get to be friendly by doing things with them together, perhaps you can try that. Then they will do some of the support for you, I think. So we think that there's some power in having kind of a little 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 cohort of kids that are your mentees. I think it could even work to have 5 mentees eventually, so that's something to think about. And then your communication styles are going to be different. Obviously, I'm loud and I'm not shy, and some people are going to be quiet and shy, and some of your mentees are going to be quiet and shy. And you're going to be fine. You find your way. What are you? Okay, I thought you were motioning you to something. Okay, so then we have in the handouts that I'm going to give you afterwards something on a piece on mentor-mentee communication and a piece on mentoring tips. Okay, and I purposely, you'll see in the packet with the handout, that I purposely put the mentoring tips at the end because it's the kind of thing you can just go to the end and say, I can, if all else fails, you can look at that and it reviews kind of everything that we'll talk about today. So the mentor and mentee communication piece, so we talk about nonverbal communication and verbal communication and validation in here. So let me just talk a little bit about each one of those. So nonverbal communication. If you are my mentee and I am the mentor and I meet you in lunch and they're already seated and you stand there and say, "How you doing?" How's that seem to you guys? Probably not so good. Okay, so and some people do that without even thinking. Some people do that because they're nervous. They cross their arms, or they stand over somebody because it seems like, well, they're sitting down. I'm not going to sit down just to talk to them. But you think about things like that. So because you're going to be intimidating to these guys, just flat out, just know that, that they're going to be like, who are these people? oh my goodness, and they have some idea that these are people that had something to do with giving them money, something to do with making them get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and come to an assessment, something to do with helping them. So they're going to be favorably disposed, but they're also, they're you know, they don't know what Kiwanis from, you know, a walrus, you know what I mean? So you know, you can help them with that. But the point taking, you know about nonverbal communication. So just you know, kind of be aware of your body language when you're talking to somebody. And then verbal communication. Some of these kids are not going to be terribly verbal, okay? They're not going to know that you're supposed to look somebody in the eye when you talk to them. They're not going to know that they're supposed to shake your hand. And if you reach out your hand to shake it, maybe some of them are going to have a very weak handshake because they've never learned that that's what you're supposed to do. That in the United States we give a good old hail fellow, well met, strong handshake. They're not necessarily going to know that. It doesn't mean a darn thing. It doesn't mean they're not interested. It doesn't mean they're not good enough. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that, yeah, that's an opportunity. There's Mr. Coelho. Shh. He tried to sneak in. So just keep that in mind. And that first impression, it is not necessarily where you're going to go with your mentee. Okay, they might be extremely shy and might be extremely quiet, and just know that that's not you. That's just the way they are, and that's just something to work on. Okay, and then the third concept that I wanted to talk to you about in communication is validation. Okay, and I just actually read about this in a book, and I explained it to my daughter, and she said, "You haven't been validating me my whole life." So I thought, "Ah, great." So this is actually something we have to thank not only Elias for starting us off with our handbook, but also the Peninsula College Fund, which is also a Shortino grantee, and they do this. They have a whole, they have mentors, and then they also have a staff that the mentors can come to for more help. Well, you guys are on your own, but they've done this for a few years, and in their materials, this is where I got the validation. So the idea of validation is that whatever a kid thinks, whatever they say, it is true for them, right? So whatever they say, you nod, and you say, "This is what I think I'm hearing you say." You don't say, "Oh, no, it's not like that," or "Oh, no, you shouldn't feel that way," or "Oh, no, if you just look at it this way." You just listen and reflect back what they're saying, what their experience is. Because if you take nothing else away from this class, the best way to think of yourself as being a mentor is to think of yourself as being their friend, okay? And I mean the best kind of friend. I don't mean the really nosy friend. I don't mean the really nudgy friend that's always bugging you to do things. I don't mean the one that tries to tell you how to live. I mean the one that listens to you and doesn't judge you, okay? So that's what we want to be. That's what we're aiming at as mentors. And you just so think about that. Think about your favorite friend, and think about probably what you like about them is that they let you be you. Okay, because you just have to remember that really whatever their experience is, you just have to take it at the level that it's given. Okay, you take it at the level they're experiencing it and nod. And eventually, once you have really established a relationship with them, if they invite you to help them with those ideas, or even on the first day if they say, "I think that I'm never going to be able to do this, what do you think?" You give your opinion. You don't say, "I hear you saying you think that you're not going to be successful." So you'll know when it's obvious that you are invited to give your opinion. But the general way is, the general approach is the validation, listen, and not be judgmental, and not jump in with a bunch of solutions, okay? And I'm just going to make a nice sexist comment and say, for the fellas, this is particularly something to keep in mind, because if you grow up around here, you know that you're supposed to solve everybody's problems, and so that's what you come up with is a good solution to a problem, and it's wonderful, but in this case, you really want to not do that, okay? I tend to do that too, but I'm joking. You're supposed to be smiling, and know that I'm saying that really it's about listening. It's not about solving somebody's problems. Okay?
That could alter though as your relationship.
Exactly. That could alter. You could, become somebody that really they like to confide in and that they ask for your advice, and that's appropriate. Okay, and you'll see the mentoring tips there. They start with, be a friend, but they also continue with lots of different things that we will talk about. Then, the next is that use the tools you get today. The best one, I guess I probably have to hand these out to you now because it is okay, let's do it. Let's do it. I trust that you won't put your nose in these.
She wants your undivided attention.
Yes, I like to be the center of attention, and I hope you'll still be listening. So if you'll see the first several pages, please don't read those. Those are for your reading pleasure when you get home. You get past the activity log, you get past the mentoring agreement, you get to the ask and listen page. So let's all turn to that when you get it. And so this is about, I don't know, this is about the 7th or 8th page in. So this ask and listen technique is again something that we have to give thanks to the Peninsula College Fund for. And what this is a great guide for you. And I want you again to take this as great suggestions and not requirements, okay? Each one of these, they have thought of everything you could ever think of and more. And also keep in mind that their population mostly goes to four-year colleges. So I did try to tone it down a little bit for more of our community college group, but there are still some suggestions for, I left them all in there in case you do happen to have somebody who's a four-year college person. So, and it's broken down very handily by the school year. So all of the things that you should be asking about and listening for by the period of the school year. So you'll see the first thing, getting started during the summer before freshman year. Okay, so these are the kinds of things that you can ask your student. Not required to ask your student, but they're great prompts. Maybe you take one or two of them, or maybe you ask all of them. It depends on how you're, how much time you have and how well your student is communicating with you. But the point is that on each of these, which I invite you to read in detail when you go home, is that when not only do they suggest what you can ask, but they also suggest what to listen for. So for instance, during the summer, which is what we're dealing with today, so this could be something that you even ask them at lunch. So you're listening about how to help the student in making a transition to college, okay? And you say, don't tell them what to take, but suggest if they seem like they're too ambitious. Now, most of our kids are probably not even signed up for school, but there are some. There are definitely some. In fact, we have, I think, 8 kids that have graduated and have already signed up and are going to classes in other community colleges. Okay, so you might have one of those kids as an intern. And so that's great. They've got to jump on everything, but they are still going to learn something today, I think. And you can help them with advice for that. And then as the semester begins, you see there are questions to ask and things to listen for. Very good suggestions. And again, you think about this as from the point of view of being a friend to this person. You turn the page, it's classes, a million questions that you could come up with and things to listen for. I just suggest you kind of use this as your guide as you go through the year. And I know some of you will use some of it, some of you will use all of it, and some of you will just pitch it. But I want you to know that this is an excellent, very well thought out guide to everything you would ever want to ask or know about a kid. And then if you turn the pages past that, we have the nonverbal and the verbal and the validation that I talked about, and then we'll talk about persistence in a minute. Okay, very important is navigating the rough spots. Okay, so there will be rough spots, okay? And the roughest spot might be today when you meet the person. But I met, I think, every single one of these kids as they came in, and they were adorable. And, mind you, I am a bit of a bleeding heart, but they were, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 8 o'clock in the morning. They managed to find their way through quite a maze. I told them all they did a great job, in solving their first problem in college. And they were, they're just kids. They're just adorable. So just keep that in mind when you're meeting them and you're thinking, you know, this kid doesn't like me, this kid thinks I'm weird, this kid thinks he shouldn't be here, you know, just get over all that. This is that time to be the adult and not go back to being, you know, the kid that was in high school that thinks, oh, am I not, he doesn't like me, you know, just assume the kid likes you. And you know, just be as warm and as nice and as open as you possibly can be. Okay, and you know, for some people that's really uncomfortable, but some, you know, you'll ease into it. I'm preaching to the choir here. You guys know you guys are going to know the drill. But one thing that I definitely want to point out to you is the knowing your limits. Now, this is something that I have to deal with. So, what we're talking about here is when you do meet these kids, you will, well, some of you will fall in love with them, and might tend to over-commit, and I don't mean today, but eventually. So you might say, oh my goodness, this is so great, and we just hit it off so well. Let's do something every single month. Let's go on an outing somewhere every single month. Well, think about that. You know, that is really hard to accomplish. And if you've ever tried to, you know, meet up with a friend once a month, it isn't very easy. Or a son, or a daughter, or a grandson, or a niece, or a nephew. It is not easy to do. So do keep that in mind. And another thing to keep in mind with a limit is if the kid is dealing with something that is really difficult, you want to be careful about getting too enmeshed in that. So for instance, you know, there are probably kids in this group whose parent might get deported, for instance, or might be signed up to get deported. You know, there are going to be plenty of those people, I would think. And that's not something you can deal with. Okay, and you just have to know that right off. So you're all adults. You'll be able to judge that kind of thing. If it's a very serious issue, you want to really watch how involved with that you get. Okay, I just want to be very explicit about that up front because people don't think about that kind of stuff ahead of time. And they say, well, I'm the mentor. I need to be involved in this. I need to help with this. Well, that's up to you to decide, but you need to know your limits. You need to think about that, anticipate that kind of thing ahead of time, okay? And then being persistent. So I had a mentee for about 3 years whom I adore this boy, and he's succeeding, and after I'd been his mentee for several months, and I thought we'd been getting along just fine and dandy, he stopped talking to me. I mean, I would go to the meetings and I would ask him a question, and he would just say nothing. He literally said nothing. I mean, he was just going through something dreadful at the time, but he couldn't even tell me about it. And you know, I think a lot of people, and I struggled with that because I was like, you know, the thoughts that come to your mind are things like, what the heck? I've spent all this time with this kid. I already had a relationship with him, and all of a sudden he's holding out on me, you know. And then you can go down the unpleasant path of saying, the nerve of this kid, you know. I put in all this time. I've put my heart and soul in this. I've put in all these hours. I'm here to help this kid. Doesn't he get that I'm going to help this kid? Well, they don't necessarily get that you're going to help them. So you have to pull back and say, okay, I'm going to go back and try this from another direction. And I mean, I tried every direction I could possibly think of, and then I talked to people at school and got some ideas from the counselors. So that's what I'm hoping in a situation like that, and we're going to have a little role play about this later, is that you can count on each other, and because most of you have relationships with the schools, a lot of you do, especially the specific Kiwanis contact who's been dealing with the schools, you know, and some of you are counselors, some of you are teachers, former teachers, that you'll have a little bag of tricks, and you can share those with other people, you know, about what to do in a case like this. So blessedly, the next time that I saw him, he was through what he was dealing with, and he was able to talk to me, and I just kept asking him questions and kept saying, you know, I'm going to be here no matter what you do, no matter if you don't speak to me, I'm just going to keep showing up. And I did. That's what I did. And I kept showing up, and we got past it. So that's what we're talking about with being persistent. And there is a handout in here on being persistent. This thing is sticky. It's yippee sticky.
That table is not good outside. Don't put anything forward.
Here about being persistent. So there's a great quote in here, and what the Peninsula College Fund has found is that really once that the kids see that you're not going anywhere, then they're going to start opening up to you. So just keep reassuring them. You know, I'm just going to keep showing up, and I know maybe you're not in the mood to talk to me today, but I still want to have a relationship with you, and I'm committed to you, and I'm going to do that. Okay? And then they remain committed. That's the thing. I mean, this is really preaching to the choir. Who's more committed than Kiwanis? You guys are unbelievable. Yes, second to last person. I have felt I'm completely humbled by working with you guys all these months. It's been unbelievable. The amount of work that you do and the commitment to kids is just stunning to me. And so I don't even need to talk to you about remaining committed, but just know that there will be some rough spots, and you're going to be able to negotiate those, I think, absolutely with no problem. And then celebrating accomplishments. You know, obviously this is really important. And you can imagine some of these kids, they probably don't get birthday cards. They probably don't get a pat on the back from anybody. And so any kind of accomplishment that you feel is worthy, whether it's, you know, signing up for a class or finishing a class or getting through a test, if you want to send them a little email and congratulate them, if you want to call them, if you want to send them a little card or take them out to McDonald's. You know, I'm not asking anybody to spend any money on anybody, just a suggestion if the spirit moves you, but just some kind of acknowledgement. I think acknowledgement is one of the most powerful things in the world. You know, people, I think it's underestimated. You know, I always say, I wish I could hear my eulogy before I die, because I'm going to hear what people thought about me, right? You know, because it's all going to be nice because it's a eulogy, right? So you want to hear that. Well, and you know, I'm sure you have this experience where you say to yourself, "Oh, geez, if somebody does pass away, I wish I told them this." You know, I mean, just about everybody has had that experience. And so I just think it's a great, you know, kind of a life thing to tell people when it occurs to you that what a difference that they've made for you, or you know, some kind of acknowledgement. And these kids, you can imagine, are probably starved for this kind of thing. So you know, you don't need to overdo it. It's just whenever the spirit moves you, but it's something to be reminded. Like acknowledging people is something to be reminded about. And then in terms of tracking your progress, we already briefly talked about this, but let me just go over it a little bit. I have an example. So this is the activity log. It's not this pretty blue and light blue and all